Greetings, Farloom Pilgrims. It's been a time since we last had some Silksong content on here, but I hope you all are excited to see something that I've been cooking up in the back of my head for a while, and something that felt really good to perform, even if it was off stream. This is going to be a bit of a two-parter video here, where right after this little intro section here, I'm going to be talking to you all about the grievances I had with this game, and then following that, we are going to have a wonderful little section as I blubber my way through the ending of this game. Afterwards, once the video ends, be sure to stay tuned to the final episode in this playlist, where we're going to have a little bit of an extra as I go to revisit Farloom's secrets in ways of challenging Lost Lace in a challenge way that is very stupid and that's going to take 100 hits if it all goes well, but it's probably going to go very badly, so enjoy that. And as well, enjoy me finding one last secret in Farloom, and hopefully having a wonderful time figuring out its meaning. Thank you all for being here. Hey everybody, coming back at you from the future, but kind of in the past, because this is a little audio write-up here that I wanted to do to give you guys a rundown of what I was feeling, both at the time of right before I beat the Silksong game and right before I beat Lost Lace, and kind of a revisit to the ideas that I was having in that moment of frustration, where I made a little rant and decided to get all my feelings out there on this game. So, I want to talk with you all about some of the things that feel really rough about this game and that kind of brought my experience down, that I think stick out as sore points for this game. That while a wonderful and beautiful game that Silksong has come to fruition and Team Cherry has cooked up for us, there are very glaring issues, I think, that make this experience feel less than spectacular. And let's start with reward progression. If any of you have ever experienced a Metroidvania, you know that upgrading your health, upgrading your abilities to deal damage, and your ways of dealing damage, as well as finding different movement abilities, are all wonderful ways of encouraging the player to create their own playstyle and feel like they are getting more strong and better capable at handling their problems in the game that they are presented. In this game, that is a lot of the time through finding mask shards, memory lockets, and the silk containers that you see throughout the game. And while those all are in the numbers that I would expect of Hollow Knight and another Metroidvania, I feel like their power is lacking in the reward and power level that it could give you by the time you end up the game. And I bring this up because when you start up the game, you only have 5 masks in total. And that means that any double damage that you are dealt from the beginning of this game kills you in 3 hits. That then further evolves that by the time you reach the very end of the game, if you're pursuing a 100% playthrough, and you have found everything, and you go to the final boss, your final boss will kill you in 5 hits, because the double damage reduces you from 10 total mask shards to what is effectively 5. With the last 2 being one that you have to survive on. And that can be very difficult. There are options, of course, with Plasmium, being this game's version of Lifeblood, as well as the broken mask that you can put on to get a kind of a saving grace for one instance in the battle. That can allow you to have a sort of pseudo 11th, or maybe even further, bit of health. But those are very situational. They may not fit everybody's playstyle, and they're either one-time use in a battle, or they're limited by a supply of shards and the supply you can take into a battle, which can be very, very, very challenging to work around. On top of that, your silk meter can only ever really get up to 2 total heals, because each of the 2 segments on your thread spool is 9 for a total of 18, which will get eaten up in 2 heals, which is very rough. This game's healing is a product of needing to heal fast and multiple at the same time, which is admittedly a clever solution to the damage dealing that is happening in this game, but it's also a detriment because the damage dealing in this game is also very difficult. And that means if you're having to heal multiple at a time, when you'd rather maybe be doing more micromanaging of your health, it can be upsetting to have to rely on managing those 9 little pieces of silk, as opposed to your 3 for 1 masked heal in Hollow Knight. So those reward progressions inherently, I think, make the feeling of power you get as you go through Silksong be very subdued, and that is further compounded by the way damage dealing is handled in Silksong. These last 2 points, including, or I should say this point including the last one, are built off of the ideas of others. The first one was built off of a Steam review that I'll try and get to you guys here as a little example. And this second one is built off of a YouTube video that I saw discussing some of those damage dealing numbers, and kind of made me further aware of the kind of excitement and the horrors that are to be found in the damage system of Silksong. I believe it is done by, a creator named Rusty on YouTube, and the video is called Explaining Silksong's Misleading Damage System, which I think is a very good title because the damage system in this game can be very, very wild to handle. Where in this video they explain that Hollow Knights 1 had a very straightforward system that usually meant you would always be getting levels of progression in your damage, whether it be from your charms or your upgrades to your needle. This game has damage modifiers on virtually every single enemy, if not every single enemy. That means depending on whether your tools are upgraded or your needles are upgraded, or even your silk spills getting the upgrades off of needle upgrades, will have damage modifiers applied to them when they are dealing damage to a boss. So when you're fighting things like Lost Lace, the 1800 health that Lost Lace has can feel very different depending on if you are at a level 2 needle upgrade versus a level 5 needle upgrade, where those damage numbers are going to be hitting different. They may end up only in like a couple differences of relative damage dealing difference, but it makes a difference, I think, because man, doing the math and like doing a little bit quick calculator check, quick like napkin math and stuff, this is not the most exact. I was looking at my math numbers and what I was using on the final nail upgrade, that I would have to deal 90 hits to Lost Lace in order to beat the fight, which further blooms into our next problem here, where these fights are very long and they don't have checkpoints, which means it can be very difficult to run into a situation where you feel like you're making progress and learning new things, but all of a sudden something catches you off guard. So those 40 hits you just put into changing your boss's health values to get into a second or a third phase are now all of a sudden wasted if you get set back to your bench. I don't necessarily mean or think that this should mean checkpoints are a thing in Silksong, but they were at least thought about in where the one boss battle you have with the plasmid scientist assistant, I don't remember their names off of the journal, but you can lower the plasmid assistant's health via checkpoints by using the plasmium file on them in, I believe, 4 stages. So you go 1, 2, 3, and 4, with the 4th one being the killing blow. And that's nice because, frankly, that boss was a little interesting. I died a couple times to it because I wasn't ready for all its different attacks. But that sense of progression as I was going over and nailing my plasmium file hits meant I knew I was doing damage, and that would carry over. I wouldn't have to worry about staying there for hours and hours, whittling down a boss that had crazy amounts of health. And this is not a one-off situation where you are spending so much time on bosses. Carmelita for us in-stream, Lost Lace was a very interesting experience. The Unraveled was an experience. Plenty of others had issues where we were just stuck on a boss for like a minimum of 20 to 30 minutes, and that meant we were not inherently progressing forward. We were looking for ways to whittle through the boss and make it out alive on the other side somehow. And that's disappointing. Those moments where you're stuck in a boss and you feel like you're not making any progress and you're just bashing your hand against the wall feel awful. They are not very fun. And that is an aspect of this game that I think a lot of people have to recognize, and I think a lot of people are voicing that opinion across the space. It's not to say this game can't be hard, but the idea is that it feels overtuned, I think is a common feeling to be had amongst many people. last thing I think we're going to bring up here is this game does encourage you to find your playstyle and the playstyle you love playing within its tools, its needle upgrades, and how you perform with your different abilities. But at times when you're running out of shards and you lose those tools as an option, it can be very difficult to have to readapt to either a new playstyle or be forced to go and grind some more for either shards or whatever kind of resource you need to get back your tools to continue the fight in the way you want. So I felt that a lot of times that it wasn't worth it to use my tools in boss battles, and I would just go in raw with my Neil upgrades and trying to farm Silk to use my Silk spells to then use that as my only means of dealing damage, which is a very limiting playstyle and was a rough thing to come to terms with as I went through the latter half of the game. I did find enjoyment with that. I found enjoyment just using Chakra's throwing rings because I love my wife, but it shouldn't have to be that way. It shouldn't have to necessarily feel like I'm limited to resources, to excruciatingly long battles, to a damage system that is obfuscated from being meaningful and presenting its information to the player, and from a progression standpoint where you don't feel like you're getting the power scaling you should be. So I love this game. I really do. You're going to hear a lot about that as I yap here in the upcoming section of me blubbering and almost crying over the ending to this game. But it's got its flaws, and I wanted to bring that up in a section here at the kind of in the middle portion of the video, explaining that because it does need to be said, and I think I wanted to condense those thoughts here into a portion of the video. So thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of what is here in the video, and enjoy watching me beat this fucking game that I love. Talk to y'all later. I hope this is the end, dude. I'm sorry, Grandmother Silk. Lace, please be okay. Let's bring you home. Kestra. Thank you so much. Down LT, let's hold super jump. Obliterate them all. Wow. I had noticed that thing withering from the moment we were going down, and it had been a deep concern, so I hope... Watch that be Lace. Holy cow. Wow. Wow. Leave it up to Lace to find a reason to chuckle. but I do understand her point. Sister of the Void, defeat Lost Lace and free Farloom. A game by Team Cherry. Ari Gibson and William Pellin. They have brilliant minds for world building, and I'm so glad they went back into this world. But as is clear with the rant I will put up with next to this, is that this one has some issues. But damn, what an interesting end. I had to bite my tongue there a little bit, because that cutscene was awesome. The ending to that boss battle was just me being worried that I was going to die again and I have to go through again. So much didn't want to do that. But what a game. Lace Mitsuki Hashimoto, Makoto Koji for Hornet. Makoto. Man. Matthew Trobiani as Trobio. Shoutouts to the strings, wind, brass, the solo singers, the additional singers. French localization Shalulu is such a name, I love that. Universally speaking, I like that title for different voice actors and stuff. It's pretty funny. Interesting that Brazil had 3. Brazilian and Portuguese had 3. Maybe 2 of them did some different work. Extra special thanks. 2,158 Kickstarter backers. And Seth Goldman. Thank you, Seth. Through the darkness and dangers, you persevered. Thank you for exploring the world of Hollow Knight Silksong. Let's meet again on the road ahead. Team Cherry. Game completion 100%. Time 100 hours, 13 minutes, 56 seconds. Completion. Achieve 100% game completion and finish the game. That's gorgeous. Our pin, or my needle, and her pin. What is this called? Menu style. Surface. Still puts me back in the abyss, but it gives me, I believe, a little Hornet memento there. What a game. 100 hours, 22 minutes there. It's total save file. Wow. Admittedly, I am overwhelmed. I am without a doubt overwhelmed. There is so much to this game that I struggle with, and I think design philosophy-wise bears looking at. And maybe having not a second revision, but taking lessons from it is really what probably should come of this game. No, this shouldn't be changed. It needs to live on as a memory of what it is, how it was, and how it performed for so many people. Because that is special. It does not need to be changed. But it needs to be learned from. And that is okay. But legitimately, that is such a beautiful ending. I am very glad I stuck it through with that. Throughout its difficulties, even if that final fight was so painful for me. I'm so glad I stuck it out. I'm glad I have this video, so I can go back and rewatch it and enjoy it for myself, because I didn't take a lot of screenshots, because I really wanted to be worried about that, because this game, I don't know if they fixed that, I don't know if they changed it, that it doesn't, if they like pressing a button skips it, but man, does it make me nervous on that. But Team Cherry, legitimately, I must say thank you, because this has been such a wonderful experience, from getting to enjoy the wonderful world of Silksong, Farloom, getting to fall in love with Hornet, chakra, shurima, lace, even, surprisingly. I legitimately do feel I fell in love with her as a character. From being touched at seeing Hera in the final cutscenes of this game, from seeing the vessel again, wildly as a manifestation of the void, to day one when I picked this up and I was so excited to go exploring again. I'm a little teary-eyed. I'm glad I beat this game. I feel so overwhelmed at it. But I'm so glad I did it. For as much as it sucked and it did give me a headache and frustrations, I do recommend this game. Probably not going for 100%. I will say, prepare yourself if you do. That is my honest to God recommendation. But legitimately, I love this game. And I'm glad for what it did. And that Team Cherry was able to come out and put their love and soul into a video game again. So everybody, thank you for coming on a journey with me through Farloom with Hornet through Silksong. Thank you for watching me this year. If you picked me up, picked up this channel and stuff, the beginning of Silksong, if you found me long before and I've been here throughout the entire journey that we've gone through so many different games, thank you already for a wonderful year and for a wonderful journey through this game. Because what is a journey without its ups and downs? I hope to see you guys on the road ahead as well. And until next time, it's never goodbye. Just keep your pen ready and sharpen your needle. I'll see you next time.